one of the most common things that we have is a reservation around being salesy.
And then the question becomes, do you want to send 100, 200 cold DMs a day?
They're afraid to make any asks because they just don't want to hear no. Well, welcome back to Beyond the Pump, where we break down the business of fitness and nutrition, where today we actually have a very special guest, and he's like special for like 14 different reasons. But today is actually, Nick, you said 9 years? 9 years?
Cancer-free.
So nine
Yep, 9
years of Nick being cancer-free. So I think before we even jump into the fun stuff, because we're going to talk about sales, we're going to talk about some setting things today. So for all of you who are looking to close more deals online, take that social media traffic and get them to a call, this is one you're going to want to listen to. But before we even go down that road, you know, Nick, tell us a little bit about the history, kind of 9 years cancer-free, a little bit about that journey. And I know, you know, for me personally, you're one of those people that I always like, man, the things that Nick has overcome, the story that I've seen you and get to hear you say being on stage of like killing your old self, you know, figuratively and stuff like that. Like that stuff's truly empowering. And I think for somebody listening right now, maybe they're not dealing with cancer, maybe they are, but they're dealing with something that's bad. And it's about digging in and figuring out what they're going to do to kind of go out the other side and win this fight. So tell us a little bit about the story before we jump into the meat and potatoes of why you're here today, man.
Yeah, the accelerated version of this story, because we can have a whole podcast just on this. But at the age of 32, after living a rock and roll lifestyle, I was in the music industry for 15 years, bachelor, single guy, moving all over the country, drinking like crazy, smoking a pack of Marlboro Reds a day. Again, living that rock and roll lifestyle, eating like a jerk, never going to the gym, never prioritizing my health. Woke up on March 24th of 2016 and something was speaking to me that something was wrong. Went to the doctors, did all the things, had the images done, and got a phone call the next day saying, hey, you have cancer and you have surgery on Monday. And so that whole experience for me, being 32 years old, I had a 50-50 shot at life. 50% chance this chemo works and you'll be fine. 50% chance the chemo doesn't work. And at that point, you will have been stage 4 cancer, and now you have a less than 9% chance at life. And so my chemotherapy was very, very heavy. It was 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, every other week for 2 months. And I sat in the chemo ward floor, having some of the most difficult and painful conversations and reflection, the regrets, the people you hurt, the things you could have done, the opportunities you didn't take. And during that process, I made a promise to God that if you give me a second chance at life, I will use the few skill sets that you've given me, the very few talents you've given me to help and to serve other people. And when I made that promise 9 years ago, honestly, I had no idea how I was going to do it, but I knew I was going to keep that promise. And here I am 9 years later, fully recovered. And I really owe everything to where I'm at today to obviously the power and blessings of God, the people around me. But after chemotherapy, after surgery, my hair was barely growing back. I had these scars all over my body from ports and surgery. I actually ballooned up in weight. I had gained a lot of weight because there was so much chemo, so much saline, so many bags of liquid. I gained a lot of weight, obviously a lot of inflammation, very unhealthy. And this was my defining moment. Very Tony Robbins of me, but I believe this to my core. People don't change their life to the current state of pain exceeds the perceived pain of change. And I believe as nutrition and fitness coaches, the most painful problem you're actually helping people solve is how they view themselves naked in the mirror. Because if you're unhappy with what you see naked in the mirror, it creates a lot of shame, doubt, hopelessness, helplessness, a lot of really neurotic and painful emotions. And that was that moment for me. I was looking into the mirror and I could not recognize the man staring back at me. And so I did one of the most difficult things for a man to do. I asked for help. And I just reached out to the fittest person I knew. And she was like, hey, you should hire a nutrition coach. And I had no idea what that was. I didn't know how to read a food label. I didn't know what a macro or micronutrient was. I hadn't been in the gym since probably high school. And I reached out to him. I really, at the time, couldn't afford it, but because of medical bills and everything I've been through. But I went on my little Capital One card app and I prayed for a credit limit increase. I got like $2 extra, and it was enough to pay him for the first month. And I really, truly owe that nutrition coach really everything that I have until this point today. He didn't just change me physically, but that process changed me emotionally, spiritually, financially, everything. And that led me down the road to wanting to help the people that helped me, nutrition coaches, outside of our military and first responders and pediatric oncologists. I believe that nutrition coaches and fitness coaches are doing some of the most beautiful work in the world because they're changing identities. And so that's allowed me to keep my promise and use my few gifts and my few skill sets with being in sales for 20 years now to serve the ones that helped me. And so that's why I'm here today. And that's why I'm in this industry and why I believe in it so much.
Yeah. Crazy. Yeah. I mean, again, people listening, watching in, like, your problem might not be that severe. It might not be life or death, but I know you're dealing with something, right? We all are. We all have a thing right now in life that just kind of sucks and it keeps hitting us in the face or wherever. And, it does come down to like, all right, I got to dig in and change something in order to change where I'm at. So just go learn more about Nick and you'll learn more and see where he's come from and whatnot. And there's, I'm sure, online someplace some of his speeches on stages and whatnot, and just watch those. But yeah, the sales and setting side of the house. So we always talk about marketing, we always talk about fulfillment, but none of that matters until you can figure out how to sell somebody the thing you want them to buy. And none of that matters until you can start a conversation with them. So would love to hop in, and just a lot of people tend to have problems getting a conversation to a sales call. So that setting process, that moving from DMs or emails into an actual video call, maybe it's in person, phone, whatever it might be. But where should somebody start? Like, what does that look like? What's that process like? Just start breaking some of that down, Nick.
Yeah, I think it's important to really talk about the state of where we're at. You might be an online coach or high ticket coach, but you're really in the space of online digital marketing, right? If you really zoom all the way out, you're an online digital content creator, online digital marketer. And in the online digital marketing space, or even the high ticket coaching space, this is a very big buzz term right now in the industry, but it's very important. We are in a trust recession. And you have to learn how to bridge the trust gap, right? In 2020, 2021, you could post a cat meme and sell a $5,000 paid in full in the DMs, right? It's not that easy anymore because there's so many burnt buyers. There's so much noise in the industry. There's so much disinformation. When it comes to nutrition coaching, you can search anything. Are apples good for you? Yes. Are apples bad for you? Yes. Like, what is right? But also, someone might be talking to you as a nutrition or fitness coach, but maybe they had a relationship coach, maybe they had a life coach, maybe they had a crypto coach, maybe they had whatever coach, and they got burned by that coach. So now you're automatically thrown into that lump of quote unquote a TikTok or Instagram coach, and you are getting put into that same basic red ocean of people don't trust you, right? And then we can also we don't have to talk about it, but our whole country is in a state of distrust right now. People don't trust the government, they don't trust doctors, they don't trust our processes. They don't trust what they see on social media because everything's a highlight reel. So the most important thing when it comes to sales and setting currently in 2025 is bridging the trust gap. And whether that is your top of funnel, you're bringing in a new audience and new leads that are aware of you and following you, or you're activating what I call the hidden hot network, which is your middle of funnel, either one of those, depending as your cold or warm audience, we have to be able to bridge the trust gap. So that's step one. The easiest way to get started in booking a sales consultation, whether that's on Facebook or Instagram, a Facebook group, a school group, whatever you're using for lead gen and lead nurture. For me personally, I've been able to build a very, very successful business. I haven't cracked the viral algorithms. Honestly, I'm not even interested in it. I want to get people to raise their hand and then arbitrage that conversation. So, for instance, for my personal company, I could say on Facebook or Instagram, on stories, on a reel, whatever platform you want to use, hey guys, I just created a brand new sales script that helps you stop convincing and start closing more leads, even the cold ones. Who wants it? And I want to play in favor of the algorithm. I want people to comment me, 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 me. Because every time a comment is made on that post, the algorithm on Meta will show it to more people. And then out of those 10 people, if someone comments, it'll show it to more people. So I'm not just posting a link saying, hey, download the link, because Meta hates links. It will actually squelch that post. I want to arbitrage conversation. So that's really the first area. And by the way, if I say, hey guys, I just created a new sales script, and you say, I want it, I, as the coach and the business owner, know that you have a painful problem somewhere with sales. You wanted to said yes otherwise. If I was a nutrition coach, I could state something, this has been used 100 times, but hey guys, I just created a 5-step guide to get shredded by summer without doing excessive cardio and giving up your favorite foods. Who wants it? If someone raises their hand and says, I want it, then I obviously know they must have a painful problem with how they view themselves in the mirror and, want to get in the best shape they can for summer. So that's just step one. We have to be able to get people to engage with us, and then we can make that conversation 100 times easier. So I'll just start there.
Yeah. So you mentioned a term, arbitrage, and for people that are in the digital marketing space, or maybe have had anyone like Alex Hormozy discuss the topic, you might be familiar, but just for the sake of the people that I'm sure have no idea, maybe they are just new to the nutrition coaching space and they're getting their toes in the pool, so to speak. Can maybe you explain that term and why it's important inside of this conversation?
Yeah, it's a call to action. You're getting someone to raise their hand, opt in to your freebie. It's a value exchange, right? I'm saying I've created this thing to solve your painful problem in exchange for the right to earn a conversation. Doing cold DMs, doing cold outbound, look, it works. There's people that have created companies, but the success rate of contacting 100 people that don't know you is like 1% conversion. And then the question becomes, do you want to send 100, 200 cold DMs a day to a cold audience that doesn't know you? So I'd rather initially get my middle of funnel. These are the people that have been following me. They're in the background. These could be friends, family, ex-coworkers, whoever, and get them to then comment on my post or on your Instagram stories. You can use polls. So I could share a client win on story 1. Story 2, I could say, if you'd like to get results like Miss Jones, vote here, right? Or tap here, and they can tap on a story. And again, they're engaging with you. There has to be 5 steps to conversion. 1, they have to be aware of you. 2, they have to engage with you. 3, we have to move that engagement into an intimate environment. I'm not going to talk to you about your painful problem in a public forum. No one's going to admit.
Pretty invasive.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to move it to an intimate environment. That's going to be a text, a DM, an email, a phone call, a Zoom call, in person, right? We have to create that intimacy. Once I create that intimacy, I can now make you an offer, ask for the cash collection, and now sign you up. But it's the arbitrage is getting them to come to you to say, I want this solution, and then creating that into a conversation. So I make a new guide. I go on Canva. I make a beautiful guide, a beautiful template, 5 steps to get shredded by summer without doing excessive cardio and giving up your favorite foods. Andrew raises his hand and says, I want it. Well, I'm going to say, hey, Andrew, sending you a DM now. Be sure to look out for it. Because if they're not followers, or, if this is a Facebook group, that message could show up in a message request folder in Instagram or on Facebook Messenger, and they don't see it. So we want to make sure to reference, hey, make sure you check there as well. Now, in the DM, I'm going to reference what Andrew did, because Andrew's busy. He might have forgot that yesterday or earlier today, he commented on my post. So I'm going to say, hey, Andrew, hope you're having a wonderful Monday afternoon. That's called humanizing the conversation. Hey, Andrew, hope you're having a wonderful afternoon so far. Thanks for your comment on my post about my free guide. Cool if I drop the details here? So I'm humanizing, I'm making reference to a time frame. I'm referencing back to the action you took, which was commenting on my post. Then I'm asking permission to drop the free guide. Okay. Never, ever, ever send a link, a training, a YouTube, a voice note ever without asking permission. You have to ask permission, because if you don't ask permission, you're selling unsolicited. You know, who here's got an email or a DM from some person you never met? They're like, hey man, I just created you a free video breaking down X, Y, and Z. And they just send you the video. I'm like, dude, I didn't even ask for this.
I buy those all the time. I buy from them every single day.
Yeah. So you have to ask permission. Now, as soon as Andrew says, yeah, Nick, please drop the free guide, I'm going to have that guide on a landing page. Okay. The landing page is going to have a form: first name, last name, email, and phone number. That form is going to go to some kind of CRM, like a Go High Level or a HubSpot or a Monday or whatever you want to use. That way we're collecting. There's an exchange. I'm giving you this free thing. In exchange, I'm getting the right to now market to you, basically, right? And I'm going to say, hey, Andrew, fill out this quick guide and then tell them the steps. Fill out this quick guide so you can be in the best health and shape of your life before summer. You'll be redirected to the resource and emailed the free guide. Here's the link. Now, as soon as I send that link, because remember, I asked permission. As soon as I send that link, right underneath that message, I'm going to say, hey, Andrew, how are your health and fitness goals going heading into the summer season? Now, I have a right to ask that question because you raised your hand asking for that free guide. I'm not sending you the link and then saying, hey, Andrew, I see that you have a couple puppies. What are your puppies' names? Hey, Andrew, I see that you're going on vacation in Florida. You love Florida? I'm not asking about things that have nothing to do with anything. I'm asking specifically about your pain point in the mindset of a world-class doctor. Remember, my oncologist didn't walk into the examination room when I was diagnosed with cancer and say, hey, Nick, how are you doing today? Tell me about your goals. Tell me about this. Tell me about some random stuff. Mindset of a world-class doctor. Calm, assertive, confident. What is the pain? How long have you been in that pain? What is the root cause of that pain? What are the obstacles preventing you from solving this on your own? And lastly, what are your goals? I call that POP. Pain, obstacles, possibility. Okay. If this is a warmer lead, meaning someone that's been following you or someone that knows you, you can get into that conversation right away and dig into the pain, the duration of the pain. What is the impact of you being in that pain? What have you tried to solve this problem on your own? What are your goals? And now once I've cleared that and got evidence criteria of that, I now have earned the right and the permission to ask to get them onto a sales call. But you have to clear that framework. Otherwise, it's like, you know, you meet a pretty girl at the club in a bar, you ask nothing about her whatsoever, and you just ask for her phone number. Ain't going to be successful. You got to earn the right to ask for the call.
Unless you're 6'7" and a basketball player.
Yeah, then yeah.
You earn that right just by existing. Not all of us though were gifted that.
100%.
So
no, some of us were actually, you know,
one of us is shorter than 5'11". I'm not sure who though. So
yeah, I don't know. Fuck that guy.
Those heel boosters, right? To put in your
yeah, the 3-inch on the TikTok shop. It's okay. I got a link for you. Click the orange button. No, but you know, you mentioned a lot of stuff in there in the framework, and you know, I imagine that one of the most common things that we have is a reservation around being salesy. Obviously, there's a mindset that goes into that. Would love to know what advice you have for people that are like starting to already think like, well, I don't want to have to sell, or I don't want to have to do X, Y, and Z. Do you have anything as to, you know, maybe a helpful perspective or paradigm shift for those people that, because I mean, if you don't collect dollars, you're not going to stay in business, frankly.
Yeah. I'll give you an actual framework to humanize the conversation. You do need to humanize the conversation. You can't just copy and paste off my setting scripts without humanizing the conversation and tailoring it to that exact person. I'll give you a framework for that. But the paradigm shift and the reframe here will always, always, always be this. First and foremost, if you have contempt for sales and marketing, good luck. I wish you good luck. Like seriously, I wish you the best of luck in building your business and being an entrepreneur. Okay. There's what you know about sales. There's what you don't know about sales. And then there's what you don't know, you don't even know about sales. And that third bucket is 100x bigger than the other two. So the more you think you know about sales, or the more skilled you might think you are at sales, the less skilled you actually are. Andrew, you know that's called the Dunning-Kruger effect. So first of all, don't have contempt for something that you really don't know all that much about. Number two, this will be the biggest takeaway that you will get from this podcast today. Do not tie your confidence into your sales and setting ability. Tie your confidence into your intention. If your intention is pure, the consequences do not matter. If I'm aligned in my thoughts, my words, my actions, but most importantly, what everyone forgets, my heart. If you're aligned in those four aspects, the consequences do not matter. Now, the problem is that we've all thought, done, and said nice things for people, but we did it begrudgingly, like we really didn't want to do it, and we weren't aligned in our heart center. So if you're aligned in those four areas, the consequences don't matter. If Miss Jones flips you the middle bird and tells you to F off and get on and never talk to me again, which by the way is not going to happen, it doesn't matter. If they ghost, if they object, it doesn't matter. Because your intention is not to make a sale. Your intention is to impact a life. That's why you got into coaching, to impact lives. So again, if your intentions are pure, the consequences don't matter. Now, the actual framework that we're running and setting, I taught you POP, pain, obstacles, possibility. When we clear pain, we're clearing what is the pain, how long have you been in the pain, what is the impact, how is that showing up in your life day to day to be in that pain. But we need to use a framework within that called ACA, acknowledge, compliment, and ask. Acknowledge what they said. Throw in a compliment. You don't want to over compliment every time because that seems disingenuous. And then ask the next question. So acknowledgement is summarizing what you heard. Summarizing what you heard makes you a likable listener. The most important part of sales is to allow someone to feel heard. Right. Remember, a lot of times these problems you're talking to people about, they don't even talk to their significant other. They haven't talked to anyone about it. You're the first person they're actually talking to. So allow them to feel heard. So I'm going to summarize. So what I'm hearing, Andrew, is that you're really frustrated by the lack of results from trying the keto and the carnivore and the fasted and the Jenny Craig and the MLM and the Kardashian detox tea and Ozempic and Orange Theory. You've tried everything and you're super frustrated. But look, I just want to acknowledge you for at least trying, because most people never even take the first step. Now, let me ask you, Andrew, like how long has this been going on for? Right?
At least 7 years.
Ask the next question. See how I humanize the conversation? Right? The other aspect is when you're following out or first reaching out to people, reference the time of day. Hey, hope you're having a great Friday so far. Hey, Andrew, just had a few moments in between coaching calls. Hope you're having a great Tuesday afternoon so far. Just wanted to make sure you saw my last message. Are you still looking to get in the best health and shape of your life, or have you already found a solution for that? Right? You always humanize, because the bots and the AI and the ManyChat, they can't do that. There's not personalization tokens that you can put in for it to reference the date and time. So and then like sprinkling in, asking permission first, right? Like sometimes someone sends you a DM or a text that's like 4 paragraphs long. If you just responded with like a simple response, that person would not feel heard. So if someone sends me a really long message, I'm going to say, hey, do you mind if I send you a quick voice note so I can break down how to fix this problem? They say yes. Now I can start humanizing that conversation by sending a voice note where now they can hear me and they know it's actually me.
Yeah, I love that framework, Nick. By the way, I love your hat too. I haven't told you that yet. So can I ask you another question?
Yeehaw. Yeah,
See,
absolutely.
got the absolutely. Got it. Now we're going to close it.
There you go.
It worked.
You just did it.
It worked out of nowhere.
What are you gonna sell them though?
So,
what are you gonna sell them?
And I think you highlight the big thing where a lot of people go down the road. I don't want to be salesy, right? And at the end of the day, if you truly are trying to help, like you said, like if your intentions truly are pure to go help somebody, and if you can help somebody create the result for them, and on the other side of that, you end up generating value or creating income for yourself, then that's where we get that fun win-win scenario. And that's what we're out looking for. Mm-hmm. But remembering not to tie the outcome of each individual conversation, sales call, or whatever to yourself, your identity and whatnot really is the big thing that I think so many people struggle with, because they're afraid to make any asks because they just don't want to hear no. And just factually speaking, kind of like you said, like, good luck in doing what you want to do if you can't do that. Because if you said yeah, if you heard yes every single point in your life, like when you were growing up as a kid, if you wanted to eat dessert at every single meal, were you told yes every single time? Probably not. You didn't die though. Like, you got to get in and get there, and again, try to help people. There's 120 something thousand coaches out there. There's like 8 billion people in the world. You can find 30 or 40 people that are going to say yes to you, so long as you're willing to hear some of the no's along the way, right?
Yeah, it's I've always taught this. There's a great book if you want to read it. It's called The Billionaire Effect. But the billionaire effect in that book, what it states is that 75% of self-made billionaires' first job was a commission-based sales job. And so now the question becomes why? Well, because sales is actually one of the hardest jobs in the world. I'm not talking like back-breaking physical manual labor. I grew up on a horse farm. I shoveled horse manure my whole life. Hard work. But sales is hard because you have to learn how to swim in a sea of rejections and keep your head above water. And think about why we hate the word no so much. Psychologists suggest that the average 3-4-year-old hears the word no 300 to 400 times a day. So from a very young age, we're conditioned to hate the word no. But if you can reframe that, what if I told you you're only 25, 50, 100 no's away from creating a $10,000 a month minimum business? How excited would you be for that 25th no? How excited would you be for that 50th or that 100th no? Right? So you have to reframe it. Each one of these no's is actually a progression and a step, learning how to keep your head above water in a sea of rejection. Because yes, rejection creates a lot of neurotic emotions. Because going back to our primal and tribal times, if I was rejected from the tribe, that usually meant death, right? No food, no water, no shelter, no warmth. I'm out here by myself and my survival rate goes through. But again, if your intention is pure, the consequences, they just don't matter. They just don't.
My 6-month-old puppy is definitely hearing no 400 or 500 times a day. So he's fucked up for the rest of his life, guaranteed. So
yeah, there's a lot of conditioning that happens with that word. It's the thing about no is it's in one word, it's a complete sentence.
Yeah.
Like, it's a very powerful word. But again, if you can reframe the meaning of that and see it, again, this is a teaching from NLP, Neurolinguistics Programming. There's no such thing as failure. There's only feedback. So every time you get a no, you're just getting feedback to get better and to optimize.
When you hear no, just know you suck and you got to get better. So lovingly. But all right, so have this conversation. I've asked for my permission. I'm giving feedback. I'm starting to engage truly. And we now make the ask of, hey, you want to hop on a call, hop on a Zoom for, today's purposes, or maybe let's go hop into my, office and let me learn more about like what's going on. What does that process look like? I've asked for the call, I've asked for that meeting, and now I actually want to start to present to you what I have going on. I think a lot of people just get so excited and they go down like, let me ask a bajillion questions about everything and forget to yet again, like say, hey, here's how I can actually solve your problem. Or they forget to ask enough questions so they can articulate clearly how they can solve the problem. And they just start saying, hey, give me $4,000 to solve your problem. And it's like, you didn't even connect those dots yet. So what does that process look like for you? What do you teach people?
Once you've cleared POP, pain, duration of pain, impact of pain, obstacles, and possibility, which is their goals, you now have enough evidence criteria, or maybe you don't, like they're not a fit, they're not your client, and he's like, hey, I do know another coach that could help you with this. But once you get to that point, you're going to say, hey, Andrew, I'd love to carve out a few minutes out of your calendar this week or next, because I help clients like yourself solve XYZ all the time without what they fear the most. If it would be helpful, I can send over a quick meeting link to book a time that works best for you. Would that be helpful? Would that be beneficial? Okay. Do not book your calls manually. It adds too much friction. Manually booking is like, hey, Andrew, do you have time on Friday? Oh, let me go look. He gets back to me 4 hours later. We got to take the kids to soccer practice. I respond. What about Saturday? He responds on Sunday because he's busy. Monday works better. I message on Monday. What time works for you? And then I don't hear from him ever again, because that process takes too long. There's too much friction. So if you're using a Calendly link or a Tidally, Cal, or a Go High Level meeting link, whatever you're using, you're going to put some questions on there. You're going to put some automations on there. You're going to have a text confirmation and email confirmation. You're going to have a couple text reminders and email reminders about the phone call or the Zoom call. Now, in that process, you're going to legitimize your leads and your prospects. You legitimize your business in the eyes of your leads and your prospects. You're going to create a pre-call guide. And I sell this template for $27 if you want it. It's all built out. You just got to brand it, add your stuff in. I teach you exactly what to do on this pre-call guide, built in Canva. You're going to say before the call, please make sure you do the homework steps and review our pre-call guide, as it will give you absolute clarity of how we can help you with X, Y, and Z. Okay. In this pre-call guide, guys, one of the things that's really important to understand in high ticket coaching, no matter what you're selling, is you're asking Louis Vuitton prices, but yet you look like Ross Dress for Less. Like I love Ross Dress for Less. It shares half of my name. But you're asking luxury prices and you look like every other TikTok or Instagram coach that's out there. You have to pull yourself out. We have to build rapport, know, like, and trust, put our testimonials, put a little 2-minute intro video in there that's explaining them what to do, what to expect before the call, and what steps to do. You're putting in your mission statement, your core values. You're sharing your epiphany bridge story. You're sharing some personal things. You're sharing your 3-step method, which could be like metabolic restoration, fat loss acceleration, lifestyle integration. You're pushing any traffic to your social, YouTube, podcast, Facebook group. The average, like, we want them to consume as much as possible to, again, bridge that trust gap before they get on the call. This is one of the ways I help my clients literally prevent objections from happening, because I'm pretty sure you didn't get into coaching to memorize a 25-page objection diffusing script. You got into this to coach. So I'm going to teach you how to prevent an objection from happening and not handle an objection, which is by nature adversarial, right? So that's the process before the call. We want our show rates to be about 75%. So every 10 calls we book, we want at least 7 of those people to show up. And having those systems and processes and automations in place will help build know, like, and trust, rapport, and help improve your show rates.
So you mentioned something interesting here with the percentages. And I think one of the most confronting issues that most coaches that are looking to get into the industry, they don't have any sales experience necessarily. They don't know what would be considered good or acceptable from a performance outcome perspective. You mentioned a 70% show rate. Do you have any other loose KPIs or key performance indicators that might help someone understand maybe where they could potentially benefit, maybe where they want to focus on in terms of some of their sales pipeline management?
This particular stat is hard to manage without tech and software, but if we're really starting at the beginning of it, we want 25 to 35% of the people that we first contact. So when Steve raised his hand for my free guide, and I said, hey, Steve, thanks for your comment on my post about X, Y, and Z. Cool if I drop the details here. We want 25 to 30% of the people to respond and engage in a conversation with you from that. From there, we should expect 30 to 35% of those people to book a call. From there, we should expect 75% of those people to show up. From there, we should expect to close 50 to 60% of the calls that we complete. So that's just like a quick KPI rundown from start to finish. And then you want a churn rate of less than 9%, which means from month to month, you want to be losing about, or less than, we want it to be 0, but less than 9% churn rate for our retention. So we can grow our business on the backside, right? Not just constantly have to find new clients.
Yeah, 100%. And that's super helpful. And obviously, you do this coaching for a living. So people that are listening and wondering like, well, I have no idea where to start or what that even looks like. Nick has a book here at the end that we'll drop a link to that you guys can read through and obviously reach out. We strongly encourage you. One of the best things you can do early on in your career as you're learning a new skill is just get someone to help walk you through it. So would strongly encourage you guys to adopt that resource and check it out as we get closer to the end here. But I think that's a great way to just help understand, like, these are the things I should be seeing. I'm not seeing that. What do I do? Like, some people just panic and throw in the towel. Don't do that, guys. That's not what we're saying. We're using this as a diagnostic tool that you can then take to someone like Nick and be like, hey, listen, this is where the breakdowns are happening. Help me. And that's so much more effective when you go looking for a mentor and or a coach. In the same way that if you're a nutrition coach and someone brings you a nutrition log, it's so much easier for you to then break that apart because you're coming to the table with something as the consumer. I'm like, hey, I already have something loosely put together. Help me out. Or a fitness person that has like, hey, I know what my back squat max is. You're like, okay, cool. Like, we can build the program so much faster if you have that data. So first step is probably just start collecting something and start paying attention to that. And again, it sounds like the general theme of sales is just be of service and ask permission and only be a menace if they're a menace first.
Yeah, I'd like to take the word of sales and really reframe it as influence, persuasion, and communication. Again, Tony Robbins has been a very massive influence in my life and helping me reframe my false beliefs to get to where I am today. But if the quality of your life is dependent on the quality of your relationships, right? This is why people can be billionaires and lonely, have terrible relationships, and they hate their lives. But the quality of your life is dependent on the quality of your relationship. And the quality of your relationships is dependent on the quality of communication in those relationships. So we can really tie it back to the quality of your life is dependent on the quality of communication, not only with others, but most importantly with yourself, right? How do you communicate between your conscious and subconscious mind, the experiences that you're going through? Is this happening to me? Is this happening for me? Am I a victim of this? Am I being rewarded? Am I focusing on myself, which is suffering, or am I focusing on helping others? So take away this word sales, which has a lot of negative connotation because there's very good salespeople, very few great salespeople out there. So most people have had terrible sales experiences, and that's what's being triggered in their mind with a picture or a movie reel when they think sales. So instead of thinking sales, think about I'm leveling up my ability to communicate, influence, and persuade positively, right? This isn't like dark persuasion and I'm going to hypnotize someone to, do evil things like Charles Manson, right? That's not what we're talking. We're helping people move forward towards changing their life.
Nick, before we wrap this up, tell us a little bit about the book. Where can we go buy it? And again, we're going to go ahead and link this as well. But give people the highlights of why they need to go buy the thing.
Yeah,
where they can find out more.
The book is called 6 Steps to Close One. If you don't know what Close One is a stage in your sales pipeline. Call booked, call completed, invoice sent, closed won, close lost. So closed one is when I take my deal card, I put it into the closed one stage. That means I've been paid. That means I'm making income. That means I got a new client, which means I can create impact. So there's 6 steps in order to close a sale. 1, the book is rooted in NLP, neuro-linguistics programming, which is a form of Gestalt therapy. Gestalt therapy, instead of focusing so much on the past, which keeps people in the past, it really keeps people in the present moment and helps them move forward towards the vision of themselves rather than just constantly digging into the past. It helps us get evidence criteria, which allows us to tailor our pitch. So the 6 steps are connection, which is the introduction. I can tell you right now, most sales are lost in the first 3 to 5 minutes because people are taught hard pre-framing, which then puts the person in a fight or flight, which then shuts them down. Remember, you cannot close a closed door. The door's got to be open, and then you can close the door. You have to get the prospect to open up to you, and then you can close them. From there, we go into the engagement, or in old school sales, we call this qualification. We're going to get as much clarity using my 10 gems of sales as you can, so you do not pitch into a smokescreen. After we get enough clarity and evidence criteria, we're going to transition, summarize everything we heard, thank them for showing up, and acknowledging them. From there, we're going to ask permission to pitch. We're going to make an offer. We're going to ask the greatest closing question I could ever teach you. And then from there, we most likely have at least 40 to 50% of the time prevented objections from happening. But if there is an objection, then last stage is the disarming and diffusing of objections. And notice my vocabulary there. I did not say overcome objections, and I did not say handle objections, because that is adversarial by nature. We want to first prevent. If we can't prevent, we want to disarm or diffuse objections, because that implies I'm on the same side of the table as you, not me versus you, my intellectual prowess versus your intellectual prowess, which makes people, it's just adversarial. It makes them feel wrong. So that's the 6 steps. Again, rooted in communication. And a lot of the things that I teach you in this book can also be applied to how you communicate to yourself.
Cool. Well, love it, dude.
But yeah, we'll drop a link in the description, and you fill out a quick form. You'll be emailed over the book. You can download the book.
Permission.
Go through it.
Permission to now be marketed to right there. But
there you go. Well, as Medea said, you better get them before you get got. So don't get got before you get someone else.
Well, Nick.
And last thing, to my knowledge, it's the only sales book out there specifically designed for nutrition and fitness coaches. Now, if you're in high ticket sales, it will work, but all the languaging, all the questions are built for Fit Pro and nutrition coaches.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Mm-hmm. Love it, man. Well, thank you, sir. If you listen into this one, go back, take out your notebook, write down some notes, because I know that you weren't paying as much attention as you could have the first time through. Pull an Andrew and just get those nuggets. I guarantee you on the other side of just this alone, you're going to be better at setting those conversations and closing those deals and being able to help more people ultimately, which is going to make your life better, make their lives better, and just be a better contribution to society. So appreciate you guys listening to Beyond the Pump, where we break down the business of fitness and nutrition. If you don't subscribe to us, we're not sure why not. So just go hit that button, like this episode, and make some comments on some things else that you'd like us to talk about. Until next time, gang.